Thanks, everybody, for coming. I'm Bill Kenny. I'm the city planner for Fall River. Thanks to my friend, former Mayor Sam Sutter, who's here with us tonight. And it's the best job in the world. Thank you again, Sam. The days pass by quicker than you can imagine. And one of the fun things that I get to work with is the bike committee. And I think just about the entire bike committee is here today. Is that right, guys? Yeah, a few of you here. Yeah. I wonder why, huh? Interested in this project. That's a good thing. So I want to thank a couple of people for setting this up tonight. Elena Pavid from the mayor's office, and especially Sarah Labossiere, who's done yeoman's work to help bring us all together here tonight. After I'm through speaking briefly, I'm going to have Bill and Sean from VHB. They're our consultants for two projects. We're talking really about two projects tonight, both of which, by the way, are funded by the Community Preservation Act. And Sandy Dennis is here representing the CPC. We'd be nowhere without that funding, so it's a wonderful thing. Just a quick story. I graduated from law school in 1977, came to Fall River to practice, and one of the first things I did was get involved with the Chamber of Commerce. And they had a committee called the Community Beautification Committee, which I wound up chairing. And our task was to design a project to convert the rail trail, or the railroad, into a bike path. And that was 1977, 78. And I was looking through some old files the other day, and I found a plaque that the Chamber gave me in 1978, I think, for best project of the year, working on this concept for a rail trail. So that didn't go too far under my jurisdiction. I think the honor for this is for Al Lima, and justly so. Al is here, thank God, still with us and still coming up with new ideas every day. And he persisted, whereas I got sidetracked into other projects. Al has been on this for at least since that time. And you've already seen the products or the fruits of his labor, and we want to push it to the next level. Project number one for tonight is an extension of the existing rail trail, if you think behind LePage's restaurant area, going the next 1,000 feet more or less to the Westport town line. And our consultants are putting together construction documents for that. And when they're done with their work, we'll be in a position to go out and put the project out to bid to actually build that last stretch. The other project that we're looking at tonight is in a more preliminary stage, and that's the development of a concept to extend the bike path from the Brayton Avenue area down along the shore of the South Watuppa Pond through the section where the existing DCR boat launching ramp exists, and then onto the Atlantis Charter School property along the shore down to Hyatt Street. So that's a challenging route to follow, but we think it's an important extension for the trail, for the neighborhood in that area that will be able to use it, as well as folks throughout the city and the region. So I'm going to let you talk with, or first have the experts talk to you, and then you can talk with them from VHB. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, and good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Bill DeSantis. I'm from Vanessa Hagen Russlin, VHB. Tonight, Sean is with me. Sean's a project engineer, and I'm a project manager. My little story is in 3 weeks I get my 35-year service award at VHB. So what that kind of means for this is I did the original application for funding for the rail trail project back in the 1990s, so I'm dating myself. And we did the initial study, and we got the first segment built, as you know, and that sort of set you all up to preserve the project and go out and get additional funding to finish the more expensive parts, which had all the bridges. So here we are back, 20 plus years trying to get the last 550 feet done over to the Westport line, and then talk about the spur over to the beach and now over to the charter school, which was something that was also discussed about 2005 or 2006. We did a very brief look at that project back then. So tonight we're just going to go through the stages of where we're at on the rail trail extension, which is going to be go into permitting and go out to construction bids. And then we'll talk a little bit about the spur, which is a concept, a feasibility study that hopefully will set you up to go and get additional funding to move that project forward. The format is we have a large-scale map over here of the spur and a map of the rail trail extension. You can write on that. There's some pens, there's some Post-its. You can leave us comments there. There are some comment forms on the table as you come in. You can fill those out and leave them with us tonight, or you can take them home, think about it, and then if you fold it in half, it becomes an envelope that you can mail back to us. It's self-addressed. We have some detailed plans of the rail trail extension here. We have a large overview map, the same one that's over there on the wall over there, and then we have some larger scale details of the spur project on the windows, taped up on the windows. I have a running slideshow. Hopefully it's not a distraction, but it shows some photographs of the perfect timing of the existing the rail corridor, and we'll talk about a few things there. And then we have some existing photographs of the spur corridor, which we took when Bill and Sean and I did a walk earlier this year. A couple of notes. So why continue the rail trail another 500 feet or so to the Westport line? Is that going to really impact how many people, is that going to double the amount of usage? Probably not. It really is just another 500 feet or so. But it's important. One is, as part of our initial project, we helped the city acquire ownership of that corridor. So it's your property. And so now you're responsible for what happens on that property. And the 550 feet that wasn't developed still has rail on it. Rail, even without trains running on it, is not necessarily safe. It's a tripping hazard. You fall on a steel rail. There's attachments and plates and spikes that you can get injured just from tripping and falling. The wood ties have creosote in them, which is now considered a hazardous material. They don't even sell it anymore. And some of the soil is old cinders from the old steam engines, which is probably contaminated, and you don't want people exposed to that necessarily. Not that it's an extreme hazard. It's just it would be better to get that removed and disposed of. It also the shoreline of South Watuppa Pond in some areas, the riprap, and you can see in the photographs, is deteriorating and needs some attention to prevent the embankment from being eroded away and from that material being washed into South Watuppa Pond and affecting your water quality there. It would also improve access to the fishing location that a lot of people enjoy by the outlet pipe that connects South and North Watuppa Pond. So, and it's a very nice overlook. So it certainly has some benefits other than just, the 500-foot extension of the rail trail. And then lastly, when you get to the Westport line, Route 6 from there further east is a DOT highway. And sooner or later, DOT will probably be out on Route 6 doing some improvements and work on Route 6. And their policy now is when they do those kinds of projects, they are required by their policy to accommodate bicycles on their roadway projects. So I don't know when, but at some point, and again, you're talking to a guy that's been involved since the 1990s, so patience is a virtue here. But at some point, Route 6 will probably be improved, and you'll have some kind of bike accommodation at that point. So you never get your network developed all in one shot. So you just do what you can, when you can, with what you can afford. If it's a half a mile, a quarter a mile, or it's 550 feet, do it when you can, because it's just one small piece at a time to get to your ultimate goal of having a connected network. A couple of points on the spur. Why do that? Well, obviously it would increase the length of walking and biking trail in the city. where you can and do those activities, off the roadway, away from traffic. It would provide a safe routes to school facility for the kids going to that school, and we've been in touch with the headmaster. In fact, he's here tonight to talk about their plans and how we can incorporate this project into their facilities, but still protect the children and their interests. It would also provide a non-motorized connection to Dave's Beach. From people in the downtown area can use the rail trail and then use the spur to get over to Dave's Beach and the boat ramp. So again, that is certainly not an easy project, and Sean will go into a little bit of that, but certainly something we think is worthwhile to consider. So with that, I'm going to hand off to Sean. He's going to walk through some of the details of the rail trail. And I'm going to set up the spur map on the other easel.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, everyone. I'm Sean Giottis with VHB. So just to talk a little bit about Task 1 and Task 2, I know a lot of things have been mentioned by both of the bills so far, but basically up here we have the extension to the Westport line. We have the plan view, and we have a profile view, which is basically the elevations, and we have some cross sections that we cut. So basically the extension is a 10-foot wide minimum bike path taking you from the existing turnaround to the town line. It's going to be located at the top of the existing railroad. So on the left side, there'll be kind of like the swale area between Route 6 and the path, and over to the right will be South Watuppa Pond. This will allow for really good drainage on the bike path itself. And the profile that we're going with is basically going to follow the existing grade. It's a slight increase towards Westport, about 0.5%. So that is pretty much the details of the extension. Again, about 550 feet long. And then a little more detail on the spur project. So we have the overall map here. The spur will be minimum of 10 feet in width, and anywhere where the room and accommodations allow for, we'll be looking at increasing that to 12 feet wide for a little additional width. It's going to be starting at in the Brayton Ave area, coming up along the off-ramp from Route 24, following along South Watuppa Pond, over through Dave's Beach, and up through the Jefferson extension over to the Atlanta School. Over on the wall over there, we have a couple of typical sections which kind of show how the path is going to fit between Route 24 and South Watuppa Pond. That's kind of our pinch point. So we're looking at a few alternatives, whether it be a retaining wall or potential raised boardwalk to kind of bridge the gap through that pinch point. So if you didn't get a chance to look at those, that is on the wall over there. A few other details we're looking at are there is an existing shared use path along the road to the charter school, so we'll be tying in at those 2 points and using that existing path. What else? Sure.
Like when you were talking about those, like.
Sure.
Sorry.
Up to the point.
Okay.
All right.
Existing path's right here.
Yep, so that's the existing location of the path along the road to the charter school. Once we get to the charter school, we would be looking at going on the outside of the fields and the track and swinging down closer to the lake again, to the pond again, sorry, and tying in over at Hyatt Street. Most of this path will be following existing grade, kind of meandering through. You can see there's a lot of nice curves, which make it more biker friendly and more entertaining and enjoyable as a rider. I think that's okay. Pass it off to Bill.
Yeah, the complicated part is over here where we diverge off of the existing rail trail along Brayton Ave. There's not a lot of room between Brayton Ave and the pond. We may have to do a structure like a boardwalk, or we may have to do some kind of retained slope to minimize the amount of fill in the pond, if we can even fill the pond. And we're coordinating that with, to get a preliminary determination from the state environmental permitting agencies. This area here is that looks like an old quarry where the high tension line tower is. That would require an easement. That would be fairly simple. We'd be on existing grade. The other tough part is here, obviously along the Route 24 northbound off-ramp, and then along the main line of Route 24 northbound, where the slope of the embankment behind the guardrail goes right down into the pond. I have some examples in the slideshow there of bike paths that we've built in very constrained areas, similar to this, next to an active rail corridor, next to a highway, in between those kinds of transportation corridors and a sensitive wetland or body of water. So it can be done. It won't be easy. It'll be expensive, but certainly it is feasible. We did have a preliminary meeting with DOT, District 5, engineering staff, and they expressed, their concerns about having crash barrier and maintenance and so on. So we are taking those into consideration. And then once we come off of the embankment, we're down on grade. It's a very simple matter of a path on grade. And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, this area, land area in here by the parking lot of the ramp you're in the process of acquiring that from Massdot.
That's correct.
So there wouldn't be any right-of-way acquisition required. You will need permission, obviously, from DOT to do the part over here along Brayton Ave and obviously along the 24 main line and off-ramp. But the rest of it is either on city property or an easement from the charter school. So I guess that's, unless you had anything else, Sean or Bill, I think that's pretty much it. So we can open it up to questions. If you just raise your hand and state your name.
Now, along the Route 24, would that be sort of what we have at the Quequechan River Rail Trail, where it's on cascading over the thing, or would it be filled in? Or do we not know yet?
Those are two options that we're probably going to carry forward, and there's a drawing over there showing those two options. Either we have some kind of sheet piling. If you go down to Tiverton, the old stone bridge pier, we did that a few years ago, replaced that. There's sheet piling there. You can sort of get an idea of what that option looks like, where we drove some sheet piling and you fill in against it and put up a railing. The issue here in Fall River might be, how close is the bedrock? All your mills down here are made out of cut granite, so the bedrock might be a little bit shallow. We have a geotechnical consultant who's looking at that and will give us some information on what's there. So it could be either a boardwalk separated from the DOT embankment or filling in that embankment with some kind of sheet piling and doing it that way. But there would be positive separation between the path and the traffic on 24.
Bill, I'm going to give this to the questionnaires so we can make sure it gets recorded with the sewage.
That extension that goes to Westport, where is that going to terminate? On a street and just or in the woods?
It's going to end at the town line on your property.
And what's at the town line?
What's at the town line? There is the overlook that's the connecting culvert between the two ponds. There's a little bit of an overlook there. It's getting a little bit eroded away, so we're going to try and stabilize that and have a bit of a end point. We wouldn't just be squared off pavement. We would try and do something there at that for now. Westport, I believe, has told Bill that they're looking at options to try and connect into that, but right now there is nothing definitive that I know of. Yes, sir.
So to make it clear, that will
You
not.
need the mic. You need the mic.
So am I understanding this correctly? You will not be able to access Route 6 from the end of that extension? I think is what we're trying to understand, if I heard that question right. And I'm thinking,
just going to terminate like it currently terminates nowhere.
Yes, but there is a paper street before the trail ends that is city-owned property that connects into the trail that goes out to Brayton Ave, Martine Street, and Route 6, and could be reconfigured to provide a connection.
great. 'Cause
It wouldn't be at the very end, but it would be a connection.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
What is the projected cost of the 500 feet extension, and is the funding all in place for that? And then what would the projected cost be of the dream to have that great circumference? And would it be possible to connect the funding for that to the 1.5 trillion or 2 trillion infrastructure bill that's pending?
So rail trails are about $1 million per mile. So if you just do a prorate that, it's what we say about 120,000, might be a little bit more because of the extra erosion control and removal of the contaminated soil and ties and things. So, but somewhere in that range for the extension. For the spur, it's probably in the $3 million-ish range, depending on the options. We're going to have to look at that. Obviously, one of the factors involved in that is your temporary traffic control on 24 while you're doing the construction work. You've got to make sure you separate that traffic from the construction zone. So how much we can encroach in, we're still working with DOT on doing that. We will be producing a draft report with a set of plans, and that will go to District 5 folks over at DOT for them to give us some feedback on that. But those are good questions. Yeah, that's a good term, the dream. But you got to have a dream.
Two questions. One, where the extension is terminating on that street you mentioned, does that street run into Dickinson Street?
Hyatt?
Yes, does it run into Dickinson?
Hyatt dead ends at the school property now, so I think if you go down Hyatt, I don't know if you take I've been down there, I just don't, not familiar with off the top
I
of my head.
remember when they built the school, they made a connection between Dickinson and the school so that parents could go in there. And I remember reading about it in the paper, and I believe it was done, but I don't know the names of the streets in that neighborhood.
I'm not sure. Well,
the whole point is how the thing is, if you have a problem with the 24, you could possibly get the section work from the school towards, so at least you have something so people could drive there on Dickinson Street, which is a country road, it's just straight as an arrow. I used to hang around there as a kid, and when it was all woods, and people could go from Stafford Road to Dickinson, and then go around the ball field and all that, and connect up, if you could get at least that portion funded, and then connect up with the existing one you said is already there.
Right.
So you could do that, and it's also an outward. If you ended up going all the way to the end, then people could go on Dickinson, and as Al Lima said, is there a way we could connect it up maybe with Cook Pond, and that would be the way to do it, to follow Dickinson Street to Stafford Road, and then beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we've been looking at is phasing the dream and doing the going from Hyatt over to the boat ramp. So here, somebody put a sticker there, where's the parking? The parking's right there.
Well, that's for the boat ramp, and usually they don't like people who don't have boats to use boat ramps. So, and when I saw one some years ago, there was a proposal to do it in the lower right-hand corner where the trail is, and right between the off-ramp, and the trail. That area, I think somebody had put a mark years ago, and I saw one of these, to put a parking lot there, because technically there was no parking along there. The parking lot that there's now is full of pages, and I'm sure they get annoyed when people park it and then go walking, go riding it. So you
gotta eat first, then it's okay.
I did that. I ate there and I walked it, but not everybody does that. All I'm saying is
Sure.
Parking is something that should be on there. It'll get people from the outside to come in, whether it be at the end near the current, near Brayton Avenue, or whether it's somewhere near the school, because you got all that land just the idea of getting there. But, you know, if you expand the boat ramp and have it just for the trail, that's fine. But otherwise, like I said, you know,
Well, one of the things we want to be sensitive is not increasing traffic in the, you know, the neighborhood on this end, in terms of vehicles coming in there to access this end and park and so on. So we want to be sensitive to that. I mean, that, nobody's really said anything yet, but I can just anticipate that that would be a concern. So, you know, we are going to talk about the parking and see what we need to do with the boat ramp. Or maybe even in this area here that the city's acquiring from DOT, provide some parking there.
Yeah, I saw nothing on there for a parking lot, that's why I did that. And
Right.
so somewhere along there, you should put something, because otherwise it's difficult. People will just park where they feel like it.
Right, no, you're exactly right, yes. That's a good, thank you, that's a great comment, because if you don't control the parking, you're right, they'll just park everywhere.
Thank you.
Mr. Related to the transportation improvement program, over the long term, the tip will have to fund this, right? I would think.
The spur or the extension?
Well, both.
That's up to what you want to do. That, one of the things we're going to be included in our report for the spur is potential funding sources. So you may have to go to the tip route. But the information we're providing you would cover all the boxes you have to check should you decide to go to DOT and ask for funding for the spur.
Okay. What would you recommend that the city do? Have you thought about that? Or?
It's going to be expensive, you know, and I think maybe phasing it might be a good alternative for you. The thing about phasing, the advantage to that is you get something in the ground, and it demonstrates to the agency you're asking money from that you can actually get the project done. It's a real project. That's what you did on your rail trail here. That's what Mattapoisett did, and that's what Mansfield did. I helped those communities with their funding application similar to what I did in Fall River. They all got funding, and they all had to end up phasing their projects. Build what you can. Mansfield did their section. Norton didn't want it at the time. Now they've changed. That project's, you know, in design. Same thing in Mattapoisett. I was talking to somebody here that they're from Mattapoisett. That's been a long time coming, but it was a very difficult permitting situation similar to this. So I would say do what you can when you can with what you can afford, and just keep plugging away.
What's the projection for the extension? When will that be finished? When are we going to start construction for that?
We're going to leave comment period open for, you know, a few weeks, a couple of weeks here to get any more public comments, and then we'll start moving into final design. Right now, we're at what we call 25% design. We've done the survey, we've done the wetland flaggings. We're going to start preparing the plans. We have to go to the Concom. We have to do what they call a Chapter 91 license, which is involves if you involve work in a great pond, which South Watuppa Pond is. We did it for the original rail trail project. We have to go back and revisit that. So that's some time frame. So we're hoping that you'll be going out to construction next year.
Next year. And what's the next step? You probably said it, but I probably missed it. The next step for the dream.
A feasibility study report will be submitted, a draft to the city, and Bill will handle that coordination with the city council, and probably, you know, I'm not exactly sure yet, but there probably would be a presentation to the council, and then you can figure out how you want to go about getting funding for the next step, which would be a little bit more detailed preliminary design. You may need to get borings and more coordination with DOT.
On the extension, why can't we use the paper road to get to Route 6 and not wait for Westport?
That has been discussed, and it sounds like we may have to look into that a little further.
That would be great, because
Yeah.
going down that trail and then trying to turn around at LePage's and get yelled at by LePage's for using their parking lot, I'd
Right.
rather see a paper road.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a grade there, and because it's a shared use path, you have to accommodate, meet the ADA requirements, so there'll be a little bit of grading and whatnot, but I don't think it's a major challenge. Anything else? Is that it?
James Hornsby, 260 Lake Ave, member, Fall River Conservation Commission. Thank you, thank you, thank you, go, go, go.
Thank you.
That's all, Jim? That was short.
Yes.
Is there any reason to go before the tip early on, before we get the project completed, just to sort of get in the line, you might say, that is there now, so that we'll be ready when we get the project finished? Does it make any sense to go early?
Right. No, there is a specific, when you say early, you can go in at any time, I believe, and just get in line. There's projects that get on there that end up not moving forward, and they drop out, so now that money gets redistributed to other projects. But they're gonna have questions, so I think until you can at least answer some questions, and there is a specific process that you need to follow. They have, forms that you need to fill out, a project need form, and then you gotta get that approved, and there's a project review committee, so there is a process, and we'll explain that in the report of, the next steps if you wanna go that way. And we'll, again, be talking to District 5 once we get a draft of our feasibility study together.
Could I just ask, you talked a lot about District 5 and Massdot and so forth, but we're not bound to look for funding
Oh,
now,
yeah.
are we?
No, you're not. You're not required. So how you fund the rail trail extension is up to you. It's your property. We're not in their right-of-way. That part of Martine Street, Route 6, is not a DOT roadway. Their jurisdiction ends at the town line, so we really don't need their permission. We did mention to them that we are extending that, and they were okay. With your, at least the study and the design and permitting is with city money, so they were appreciative of the being told that. But the spur, if you can find money elsewhere, you don't necessarily need their funding. You need their approval, but not their funding.
And we need their approval because of the proximity to the highway.
Right. Route 24 is a limited access highway, so there's the property line along Route 24 is called a line of no access. So you're going to need to get their permission to do that work in there. But we're doing similar work. We're extending the Cape Cod Rail Trail down on the Cape along Route 6, along the frontage road, in between the frontage road and Route 6, the Mid-Cape Highway. So. And one of those photographs, well, there's one right there. Perfect timing again was Interstate 84 in Connecticut, a bike path on that. There's a rail trail, but there's another picture in there of a bridge over New Hampshire, over was it 111, right next to 95. If you go on Google Maps, you'll see the trail, less than a stone throw from Interstate 95.
So could I just ask, the process for getting approval from Massdot where we need it, what's that like? We just call up Mr. Dot and, okay?
No, there is a process, and I think, Bill, that once we get a firm handle on, after this meeting, we can come up with a draft report and then have send it over to the district and have them outline that. We'll put in there what we think you need to do, but get their approval. But it could involve review and approval by Federal Highway also.
Federal Highway?
Yeah. Again, it's not, the extension is pretty simple and straightforward. The dream is not, but that, don't don't let the complexity scare you away. I was talking to somebody, we were talking about the Blackstone River Bikeway in Rhode Island and in Massachusetts. We started designing that project in 1993. We still have 2 sections left. So, it's been a career project for me, but it's complicated, but it can get done. You just gotta figure out the strategy and just stay with it.
Don't worry, we have Al Lima.
That's right, I have Al Lima. He predates me down here on this project, so. Somebody way in the back there.
So Gail, Westport Bike Chair, just as a reference to Massdot, we are open to that kind of thing, and the only bike path we have in Westport is on Route 88, which is a state highway. And the engineer told me that they saw people riding bikes, like a bike, horse, walking, people were doing it, and they decided it was a safety issue, and that's how that got through. So I think they have a more receptive opinion about that.
Thank you.
We are all talking about the section along 24. How wide, my understanding is it has to be as wide as basically a vehicle when you build these bike trails for emergency vehicles. Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
The minimum width for a shared use path, which is bikes and peds, is 8 feet. So do you need to be able to drive an emergency vehicle along the entire length end to end, or can you access from each end to the critical points? That's something we'll work out with the city emergency response once we get some better handle on the width. But 8 feet is wide enough for an emergency vehicle. They would probably not be able to obviously turn around. They'd have to go straight through.
Mm-hmm.
So I designed, in fact, there's one picture here of a bikeway on a bridge. It's 8 feet wide.
Okay.
We have like 2-foot shoulders too,
No, just 8 feet, 8 feet.
with the grass.
But, yeah, we're proposing, I think, 8 feet with a 2-foot shoulder on each side, so actually 12 feet. So, yeah, that's the Shining Sea, that's just 12 feet in that section, right by the existing track, active tracks.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Along 24, now you said you may have to do a boardwalk, right? If you move that away more into the water, if that was possible, away from 24, would that be more expensive, and could you avoid dealing with the state over being too close to the highway?
That's a possibility, yeah.
I'm just thinking if you could move 30 feet, say, and a straight line, a boardwalk from right across there. I don't know what the cost would be if it's more, but it would eliminate some headaches with the state.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the pros and cons of, each alternative has its pluses and minuses. So that's kind of what we're gonna present, is the alternative to stay close, but now it involves DOT and all that entails, or you go out in the pond, which is a bigger environmental permitting and Chapter 91 issue.
Yeah.
It's pick your poison, kind of. Anyone else? Okay, you have the forms. You can leave them here or take them home, think about it, and then if you fold it over, you'll see Bill's address on there. You're gonna pay for your own stamp, but send them back in. Or hand deliver them, sure.
When do you expect the project to be completed?
Which, the rail trail, we're gonna be going out to construction hopefully next year. The extension will definitely have a draft report into Bill by the end of the summer.
I think you switched that around.
It's coming soon.
Yeah, it's coming right, so almost August. Okay, we're here till 7-ish, so if you have questions, you want to look at those maps again, just let us know. And thank you for coming.
you.